Hello and welcome to Simple Country Place. I have 4 super easy, delicious meal ideas for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe, welcome, and enjoy. And the majority of this video was filmed with just my husband and I. My nephew was on his Christmas break from college, so he was at his dad's and then his mom's. So me and my husband had the house to ourselves for the majority of it. The first thing I'm making is a crock pot, pork loin, and potatoes. Super easy. Love a crock pot meal. I'm making a seasoning blend for the pork loin with chipotle chili powder, paprika, minced onion, garlic powder, salt, pepper, and parsley. I mixed that all together and then rubbed it into the pork loin on all sides. Once I had that all seasoned up, I seared the pork loin on all sides, and I actually did this all the day before, so I had it in my crock pot in the fridge, so I could just take out the crock pot, throw it in the other part of the crock pot in the morning, turn it on, and it was good to go. So once that was seared on all sides, I just removed it, and then to that same pan with the drippings, I'm making what will be eventually the gravy, but also just the liquid to go into the crock pot. And I added water and chicken bouillon to make chicken broth, a smidge of apple cider vinegar, and I stirred that to combine and let it simmer. I did add some minced garlic, but I did not film that part. So in my crock pot, I have some onions diced on the bottom, put that pork loin in, some cut up potatoes, and some carrots that I had frozen, and threw some salt and pepper on top of all of that, and then poured that liquid with the chicken bouillon and apple cider vinegar, garlic, poured that in to the crock pot. And then I just mixed it around a little bit, and like I said, I threw the next morning, before I left for work, I put it on, and it cooked on low for 7-ish hours. And then when I got home, I removed everything besides the liquid, and then I added a cornstarch slurry into the crock pot and let that cook on high for a little bit and made a gravy. And my husband really enjoyed this. There was obviously plenty of leftovers since it was just him, and super easy, delicious Midwest meal. This day I'm making a Bourguignon cheese pasta with chicken for my husband's. I actually cook the chicken separately so I could have this too. So I'm starting with his chicken. I just season that with seasoned salt and black pepper and let that cook through, and then set it aside to rest, and then I eventually sliced it. But for the pasta sauce, I have melted butter, and then I added some minced garlic into that until that was fragrant, and then added some heavy cream. I then added that whole block or circle or whatever you want to call it of the garlic and fine herb Bourguignon cheese, and I just stirred that around until it was melted. Once that was all melted, I added a diced tomato into that. If you've seen my other videos, like me and my husband both like fresh tomatoes in like cream sauces. So I added that, and then I also added some pepper and let that cook for a while to get all those flavors incorporated. On the side, I did have some pasta noodles cooking. I honestly, this was just broken up lasagna noodles because I didn't realize until like a third of the way through that I didn't have any other types. So anyways, I used those and then added some of that pasta water as well and mixed that in. I did add some steamed broccoli at the very end. And honestly, I just served my husband's with the chicken on top, which is pictured, and breadstick and some shredded cheese. And I also had this, obviously, with no chicken, and it was awesome, like super good, and my husband really liked it too. On this day, I made beef and bean, like enchilada taco type stuff. I started with browning ground beef with diced onion and bell pepper, and I just seasoned that with some cumin. Once that was all cooked through and the grease was drained, I added rinsed pinto beans, some diced tomatoes with green chilies that I had also drained, some taco seasoning, and a can of green chili enchilada sauce, as well as like a smidge of water. And I mixed that all together and just kind of let it simmer for a while, the flavors to come together, thicken up, all those things. Honestly, I kind of just winged this. I didn't really know. It was one of those days I came home from work and I had some ground beef that was thawed, and I was like, okay, what can I make? And we obviously always love Tex-Mex stuff. And so I was looking in my pantry. I was like, oh, I have this enchilada sauce. I have these tomatoes with green chilies. I have these pinto beans. And so I kind of just threw this together and winged it. Once I had simmered for a while, I added some shredded taco blend cheese and then mixed that in for it to melt. And then I added more shredded cheese on top and then put that in the oven for the cheese to melt. And I was hoping that it would thicken a bit more. I mean, it ended up not really, but it was still good. My husband still really liked it, so if I made it again, or a version of it again, I would probably not use as much sauce or maybe cut out the water. I don't know. I say that, but I probably will forget and then do something similar the next time anyway. Once that had come out of the oven, I just sprinkled some cilantro on top, and I served that in tortilla shells with just some lettuce because there was all those other flavors in there and like the sauce and stuff, so didn't need any more sauce. And my husband, like I said, he really liked it, and I mean, it's pretty hard to come by like a Tex-Mex type recipe that he won't enjoy. On this day, I'm making Hawaiian pulled pork sandwiches, and so I'm starting with like the spread that I'm gonna put on them with mayo, a couple squirts of lime juice, some minced garlic, and dried cilantro, and then I mix that all together really good, and I put it in the fridge. Let it hang out in there, and while I was cooking everything else for all the flavors to come together. So then I started on the sauce and the meat aspect. So I with a little bit of olive oil, I put in some minced garlic to get that cooking, and pineapple juice. I had canned pineapple tidbits that I just dumped some of the juice in, and we will be using some of like the pineapple later. To that, I also added some barbecue sauce and chili powder. I let that simmer on the stove for a bit, and I had some pulled pork in my freezer that had thawed, so I'm adding that in now, and mixing that all together, and then letting that just cook, heat, thicken, all of those things. To construct the sandwiches, I have obviously hamburger buns or sandwich buns. And I put the spread down on the bottom first that I had made earlier. And then we'll be adding the pulled pork mixture on top of each one. We did have a different nephew over this day, so part of this obviously was for him, and he does not like onions. So after I put the pulled pork on, I thought onions would be good on this, so I put onion, like a thinly sliced white onion, not a whole white onion, but some of it, on half, because my nephew really hates onions. So I only did half because my husband also, he likes onions, so I knew he'd be fine with it. And then to all of them, I put pineapple tidbits, and then each one got a slice of provolone cheese. I melted some butter, and then I just simply put the everything but the bagel seasoning in there, and then brushed that on top of each of the buns. And once they were all brushed, I covered it and put it in the oven for a while, and then I removed the cover and then cooked another probably 5-ish minutes in the oven at the same temperature. And I simply just served that with some oven roasted potatoes. I know I'm horrible. I should have had a vegetable too, but I didn't on this day. And my husband loved this. My nephew really liked it as well. He said it was a little bit spicy for him with the chili powder, but he ate it. He didn't starve. And thank you so much for watching. Please come back for future videos.